Well, hello once again, viewers. It's Peter Elgar here with some of his fantastic treasures. I've never shown you these before. These are Practicas, made in East Germany, and they were very famous for teaching beginners in photography. I'm lucky I've got 4 of them. They're not all in good condition, but at least they were all free and saved from going to the council dump. The most basic one is this one, the Practica L it's called, and it has shutter speeds up to 1/1000th of a second, and you set it against the little red mark here, the shutter speed, and the shutter worked with a great thump. And it goes down to 1 second. Here we are. Oh, it's struggling because this was given to my boy, and it's not in very good condition. It's been banged here, look, so we don't actually use that one a great deal, but it's nice to keep for spares. If I want any little screws and stuff, I can undo that and utilise it. It's got no meter in it. There's no meter socket on the base where you put a meter. You have to use a separate meter or guess the exposures. But it does have an electric hot shoe here for sliding in a small flash. There's no 3mm coaxial socket anywhere where you can plug a studio flash. It has the Practica loading mechanism here, which I shall show you in a minute, with a wire that comes over and grips the film, and you have to get your film in correctly underneath here, otherwise it won't load correctly. It has a vertically running shutter like all of these I've got, and it synchronised with flash at about 1/90th of a second. Look, there you are. It's struggling a bit, but having fired it a couple of times, the 1 second is now only about 2 seconds, whereas before the 1 second was about 4 seconds. So if you don't use these cameras, everything will start going wrong with them, because they're not electronic shutters. That's a very basic Practica. A mirror, as usual, with a single lens reflex, and this little bar which bangs on the pin of the lens that I shall show you in a minute to stop it down. The next one up is a Practica LTL. Now this one has the benefit of having a battery, which is now the illegal mercury battery which goes in there, but I have one to show you. Here we have the famous illegal now mercury battery, which fits in the Practicas and Canon FTBs and Konica what's it called, Auto Reflex, all take these illegal mercury batteries. I found a seller in a market in Chelmsford, and he had some under the counter, so I bought his supply, and it still works, thank God. And the LTL has a slightly sweeter release, and it got delayed action. And then you have to set the shutter first before you set any delayed action. Like all these Russian cameras, you can jam it up if you don't do it the correct way round. There goes the delayed action, and there goes the shutter. I'll show you, I'll open it up again so you can see once again the action. So you wind it on first, then you set the delay, then you press the delayed action, and all the little East German cogs go around, and the shutter fires and you can see through. Now that's the delayed action. Now when you come to use the meter on this one, you press this little knob here, and that stops down the lens. You can see the little bar moving. It's stop down meter, and it presses on the pin and stops down the lens to the aperture that you want. And then inside the viewfinder you have a little circle and a little index that you line up by turning the aperture on the lens. Again, it has a hot shoe fitting. It does have no 3mm coaxial socket at all though, and that is a bind, but I've used it with a hot shoe, and I have used this one and taken some pictures. You set your film speed in the little dial here, whatever ASA or DIN. If you're German, you use Deutsche Industrie Normal. If you're American or British, you use American Standard Association there. But not being German, I use the ASA rating. So it's on 100 now. 100 ASA, 21 DIN. And then you can take your meter reader by pressing that down, line it up with your aperture on your lens, and hopefully get a good picture. Now here's the loading again of the film, and we'll actually load a film in here. Take your film, stick it in like that. Now it's got to go underneath this little ledge. If you don't do it right, or it will jam up underneath there. And it goes underneath the little wire, and then like trying to do it hard, make certain the cogs are engaged. Make certain it's laying inside the channel here. See how it comes round, look how it loads. There we are. That's loaded correctly now. If you don't load it correctly, you will find your film will jam, but it's loaded correctly and everything is firing nicely. There we go, there's your film, all safe. Now at the end, when you've taken all your pictures, you're pressing the rewind button here underneath and turn the little dial, and it will hopefully rewind back into the cassette without tearing, but it is a bit stiff. It's going though. See, it's not as sweet as the Japanese, but on the other hand, they was only 1/4 the price. Oh, now I've wound it right into the cassette. Now I've got to get that out now to show you my loading techniques with other cameras. I've got to get that out of the cassette. But that is the LTL. Now the next one up is the LB. Now this one has a selenium cell. And it doesn't have like through the lens metering as this one had. It has a selenium cell here, which I've never used, but you've got to line up in this little window. There's a little circle, and you line up a little straight edge line above onto the top of the circle. And when you've done that, by turning the aperture on your lens, it should give you the right exposure for what you've set here. But this is rather complicated to understand, and it being a selenium cell, I've found it doesn't work anymore because it's just too old. So I don't use that meter, but I have used this LB, and it doesn't take a mercury battery at all because it's selenium cell. You don't need a battery. So here we are, the same inside. That's a rather sweeter sound. That's rather a sweeter sound to it. It's got the same loading with the green mark where you take your film underneath the wire, remember, underneath here, remember, otherwise you're going to jam it all up. Then the piece of resistance is the Practica MTL3, which now has a different colour covering, has this bumpy covering which they put on their B series Practicas, and that has a delayed action as we had here, same as delayed action, but you must remember, wind it on first before you wind the delayed action. But this has been jammed up by a previous owner, and it took me years to get it unjammed, and it wasn't worth paying somebody to do it, but I managed to unjam it because they don't read the instructions, you see. And if you find a Practica's all jammed up because they haven't been reading the instructions properly. There we go. It's got the stop down metering because it's got a battery this time again, and it's got this shutter dial. Got your ASA dial here, that's set to 200 in there now. Now what about the lenses? Well, we'll show you some lenses next. We've got the various lenses here. They're all M42 screw thread lenses. So it means all the old Pentax lenses will fit anything which is M42. Russian Jupiter lens fits, no problem. This one came with the Pentacon 1.8 50mm lens. And it did start playing up, because I hadn't used it I suppose. It wouldn't stop down when I pressed the little bar. It didn't stop down then either. Oh, here we are. There's a little bar on the side here. There we are. You've got to exercise that, because now it's not opening up again. I can't see any oil on it inside, but for some reason that Pentacon lens has played up a bit. When I first got it, it was perfectly good. So it's quite a sharp lens. It's a 1.8 aperture. Goes on the Practica. All the Practicas. The other ones I've got are Tessars. Now there's two Tessars. There's one called a Zebra Tessar, which is this one, and this one's just called an ordinary Tessar. They're all made in East Germany. Carl Zeiss Jena. And there's the differences. Carl Zeiss Jena, larger letters there. DDR, like Deutsche Demokratische Republik. Nothing much democratic about them. They were what with the KGB, etc. Wasn't very democratic when it was there, but never mind. They were cheap and they're very sharp. Now this is the older one, as far as I know. Here's the stop down pin, which works perfectly well. You've also got another little pin here you can press if you want to get a view inside the camera what your aperture is going to do, but it just makes it too dark, and I don't ever use those to see the depth of field. I don't bother to use them. It screws on your camera like that gently, and hold it like that to finish it up, and it focuses. Oops, see the East German grease is a bit stiff. I think they've used some grease that they use in their tanks on the siege of Stalingrad. So it's a bit, but it goes down to 0.35 of a metre, this Tessar. It stops down all right. And then you can use, of course, all the other accessories which are M42, like the extension tubes with a little pin there which presses on your lens bar and stops down the lens. So that's all of them. So you'll get a real close up with that. We just have the small one perhaps. There we are. I'm going to stick on a lens. There we are now. It focuses down much closer than it would normally. That's in focus about here, because this one focuses down to 0.35 of a metre. What's the other one go down to? That's 0.35, that Zebra Tessar. Oh, this is better grease in this, look. Oh, that's 0.35 as well. Oh, that's much better grease. Oh, look at that, much better, that grease in there. This is a bit stiff, but it needs using, you see. I haven't used them for a while. I've been in my cupboard safely. And now the weather's getting warmer, the grease is getting a bit better. This goes down to 0.33 of a metre. The Pentacon 2.8. I've taken some full aperture as well. They are all acceptably sharp. The tests are fractionally soft at full aperture. But it stopped down even to one stop F4. It comes in sharp. People say, oh, the Tessar's no good, but it's very good. And also, because it's a simple construction, if you're going to use it for macro work, then you don't get the aberrations and the weird sort of aberrations and things. I can't get the word now for it. that you would do with a 1.8 lens with more glass in it. The more glass you have, the worse these are for close-up photography. A more simple one, it's only got 4 bits of glass. As a triplet with 4 bits of glass, one cemented together. These lenses are better for close-up macro photography. So I've shown you a bit about my Practica collection. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any prints to show you. I know I have some somewhere, but I've got so many printing boxes I've searched and I can't find them. But if you've enjoyed this little discussion on the Practicas, you can pick them up for about £2. Have a go and try them out yourself. So please, hope you've enjoyed it and support me by subscribing. Thank you very much and good morning.